All right, so the judge has sentenced Tory Lanez to 10 years. 10 long years. And we want to talk about that. Hang out with us. We're going to give you our legal perspective and just talk about some of the other ancillary type situations around him being sentenced to 10 years in a California state prison. Just a second. This is Attorney Augustus Corbett, a.k.a. the Minister of Justice, and with me I have
Attorney Chloe Corbett, a.k.a. the Duchess of Justice.
And together we are the Defiant Lawyers, and each and every week we bring you a legal analysis, or more than one actually, of trending politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy an unjust legal system. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead, subscribe, like, share, comment. Do all of that to help us grow this channel because we're putting out some really important information every single week. And we are, by the way, Chloe, we are growing by leaps and bounds, In fact, just last night, we picked up about 1,000 new subscribers. So the channel is growing. Folks are finally catching in. We've only been doing this for a few months, actually. I think it's less than a year. And I know some of the big podcasters have been on for 10 years and all of that. So we are relatively newcomers, and we're proud of our growth, and we intend to grow even more. So all that said, Chloe, we're talking about something that you're really, really familiar with because you're a criminal defense lawyer, a family law lawyer, a civil rights lawyer, interpersonal injury lawyer. That we do all of that. In other words, our firm does every bit of that. I also do criminal defense, personal injury, family law, and civil rights law. In fact, you're getting ready to go to court today. So on behalf of one of our criminal clients. So this is right down your alley. So I'm going to turn it over to you. And another reason I'm turning it over to you is this is your generation. I never heard of Tory Lanez until all of this happened. I'm sort of back on the Run DMC and Raheem's and those kind of rappers. I don't know anything about this new group of rappers. So, hey, I'm turning it over to you. It's yours. Take it.
Thanks, Dad. So for those of you all who are like my dad and his generation or don't know who we're talking about, Tory Lanez is a rapper who was accused of shooting another rapper, a female rapper, called Megan Thee Stallion back in 2020. He took his case to trial, and last December, a jury found him guilty of 3 felony charges. And I'm going to read that to you now. He was found guilty of assault with a firearm. He was found guilty of illegal possession of a firearm and negligent discharge of a firearm for shooting Megan Thee Stallion. And so for the past 3 years, since 2020, there has been a lot of discourse about this shooting, about the trial itself, and now about the sentencing that just came out yesterday by Judge Harry Ford, who presided over the case. And I must say, I am a little surprised at the amount of time that Tory Lanez received for a number of reasons. One, he is a celebrity. He has been making music for a few years, and the victim is a Black woman. And a lot of times in the court system, Black women are not seen as real victims and do not get the same type of treatment that other victims get as well. And there's been a lot of discourse about that while discussing this case. In fact, Megan Thee Stallion herself, she's given a number of interviews, and a statement was read from her in court yesterday at the sentencing, just discussing how traumatic the shooting has been and how the discourse on social media and the things that Tory Lanez has said while this case was going through the court system, how that has affected her. And I want to read that statement for you all, if I can find it. So she told Elle Magazine back in May of this year, she said, quote, "I don't want to call myself a victim. As I reflect on the past 3 years, I view myself as a survivor because I have truly survived the unimaginable." She said, "Not only did I survive being shot by someone I trusted and considered a close friend, but I overcame the public humiliation of having my name and reputation dragged through the mud by that individual for the world to see, end quote. So from her perspective, this is what she's had to deal with, Dad, as this case has gone through the court system, and now Tory Lanez has been sentenced. And there's been a lot of discourse about that. In the video that we made in December, we had a conversation about the misogyny that occurs in hip hop, especially in regards to his treatment of women. Because there was a lot of discourse on social media and even in the courtroom about her dating history, about other things about her, about the way that she presented herself in the world that maybe may have come across as victim blaming. And look, we see that often as well in the cases that we handle. Just like you said, that we are criminal defense attorneys, and we have to make sure we leave no stone unturned in vigorously defending our client. So if that means taking a look at the victim and attacking their credibility, we will do that as well. And that is what Tory Lane's attorneys were doing with his case. They had a duty to do that. So, in regards to all of that, what are your thoughts about the sentence, Dad, and all of the discourse that's happened as well?
Well, as far as the sentence is concerned, I don't know a lot about California. I don't know anything about California law, to be honest. I understand that these are 3 felony offenses. I'm not sure what level of felonies these are. Are you?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so that would factor into my opinion as to whether whether the sentence is harsh or not. Here we have in Texas, we have a state jail. If I walk it from the most serious on down, of course, a capital offense is the most serious, and then a felony which carries up to life in prison. Here there is the second degree felony, which carries up to 20 years, and then the third degree, which carries up to 10 years, and then the state jail felony, which carries up to 2 years in the state jail. I don't know where these charges, kind of fall on that kind of chart. If they are on the state jail level, then this is a pretty harsh sentence. Whereas if they are more higher degree felonies, then the sentence is pretty light. So it just depends. Whether or not we thought back when we did the first video that because he is a celebrity, he had a good chance maybe of getting off. But we thought the evidence was still pretty strong even back then, so.
Yeah, we did. I mean, from what I read, there were medical reports that were entered, doctors that testified, reports about the bullet fragments that were found in Megan's foot, excuse me, and other things as well. So the jury clearly felt that the state met its burden to prove its cases beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the standard across the country that states and prosecutors must meet in order to get convictions by juries, proving each element of their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And the jury clearly felt that today. Now, Dad, I know that you had wanted to go a little bit into the parole process about in California.
Okay, well, just a little bit, because again, I'm not a California lawyer. I'm a Texas lawyer, so there isn't
Yeah.
much that I can do. What I thought I would do is read some information that is posted on a California lawyer's website, and still, however, offer the disclaimer that we could be completely misinterpreting even what she has written. So take this with a grain of salt, but I think it's fairly yeah, something that we can trust. All right, let's go to another screen here, and so this is some free publicity for this attorney, the Aisman Law Firm, DUI criminal defense lawyer in California. And she says how the parole process works in California. She explains first and foremost, which is true in every state, parole is similar to probation in that a convicted person is able to serve a portion of their sentence outside of jail or prison. I mean, it's very similar parole probation on that level. Probation, however, is a part of the sentence that a court imposes, while parole is a process available only to felons who serve time in state prison. We agree with that as well. Now, in terms of when he might be able to get parole, she writes, inmates are allowed to deduct time for good behavior. Under current California law, inmates are now eligible for parole after serving half of their sentence. The exception is if you committed a violent or serious felony such as rape, robbery, arson, burglary, kidnapping. You must serve 85% of your sentence before becoming eligible for parole. And if you commit murder or have been incarcerated for at least 2 felonies, you're not eligible for good time credit. And the way California does this, when I went to the actual code, okay, that's not working. Well, maybe you can see this. But basically, the way they do it is for every 6 months of a continuous incarceration, a prisoner shall be awarded credit reductions from his or her term of confinement of 6 months. So I take that to mean that for every 6 months you do, you get 6 months good time credit. So if you got a 5-year sentence, then you do 2.5 years. However, she says here, if it's a violent offense, then you're going to have to do up to, I think she said, 85% of that sentence. And if it's murder, then there's no good time credit. In fact, I think you told me you had read that he would have to do at least 8 of the 10 years before he's eligible for parole. And that is probably due to the fact that these are violent offenses and a deadly weapon was used. But again, neither one of us are California lawyers. We're speculating, but I think we got you pointed in the right direction. And one last thing, because I know you're on your way to court, Chloe, so we're going to get off here. One last thing I'll say is that parole eligibility does not guarantee parole, right? It just means you're now eligible to go in front of a parole board and petition the board for parole. They still have a lot of discretion to say yay or nay on your parole. And the same is true here in Texas. There is a point in your sentence here in Texas where there's a mandatory release, but that's not the same as parole. So I wanted to share that little bit about when Tory Lanez may be eligible for parole. Based on what we know and read, it's likely going to be anywhere between 5 to 8 years before he's eligible.
Yeah. And one last thing too, that before we get off, I wanted to mention whether or not Tory Lanez will be deported. There's been speculation about that. Apparently he was born in Canada. I don't know his U.S. citizenship status now, whether he has a green card or is a naturalized citizen. But I will say here in Texas, whenever we have a client that was born in a different country or is not a U.S. citizen, one, we always consult with a immigration attorney, because the United States immigration laws are very tough and very strict. And even sometimes just taking a plea deal can have an impact on that person's ability to get citizenship, or even get their green card revoked and have them deported back to their home country. So there's a lot of speculation about that online. We'll see. I have read that after he serves however amount of time he serves with his sentence, he may be deported back to Canada. So that really is another consideration that I'm sure he and his team have made as well.
Yes, and also they plan to appeal based on what I'm reading, and they plan to ask the court to allow him to remain free or to release him after he posts an appeals bond. So they are going to appeal both the conviction as well as the sentencing, is from what I understand. And just one last thing about the sentencing. You mentioned, Chloe, how he testified at sentencing and other people testified. Typically at sentencing, we just throw everything we got at the court. At that point, you already got the one-word verdict, guilty, rather than the two-word verdict, not guilty. So at that point, it doesn't really matter about, whether or not he'll say anything incriminating or anything like that. So you just basically, at that point, you're throwing yourself on the mercy of the court or the jury, depending on whoever's doing the sentencing. And I'll say in closing that, there are no winners in a case like this. Megan is not a winner, although he's, going to prison. He's not a winner. She's not a winner. His family's not a winner. Her family. No one is a winner in this. The hip hop community is not a winner in this. It's just another example of some violence in the hip hop community, which is already spilling over with violence, unfortunately. So we wish Megan, Pete, I believe is her legal name, and Tory Lanez and their families the best. We pray that Tory Lanez, experience some positivity and grow and so forth while he's in prison, that it turns out to be good for him. And we pray the same for Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes, I concur in that. Prayers all around. So,
all right, so we're going to go again. Chloe got to get to court. We wanted to just get up here and just give you a quick legal analysis of what's going on with this case. We're criminal defense lawyers. I've never been a prosecutor. Chloe was a prosecutor. And so my heart is typically with the defendants, although, I know the victims. I've been a victim of crime, my family as well. So my heart goes out to everybody. I just want to say that again. And I pray that Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, just are able to overcome this. All right. And we pray that this stops in the hip hop community, in the African American community. It's just too much violence. Too much violence. All right. With that said, Chloe, if you don't have anything else to say, we're going to end it at this point.
Yes, thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to the old subscribers. Check out our previous videos. I did just want to say real quick that I did a video with Mom and some other women about the phenomenon of Black women dying while giving childbirth. So go check that video out. I promise you there's some good information. And with that, we just appreciate all of the support that we've gotten, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
That Corbin and Corbett legal team, fighting for the rights of the people. That father-daughter team, investing in the youth when the system ain't treating them equal. Providing truth for our people, we able to reach them. So anytime you get accused for a crime and Lord knows you ain't do it, we here to get you through it. Exemplifying prudence and glorifying God, making sure you're compensated for other people's doings. Our vision is to be one of the best. We're small enough to focus on your matter throughout the neighborhoods of Dallas. Working constantly and making sure your rights are protected. A firm team of lawyers, aggressive, effective. A team that has your back in the courtroom. Two well-spoken Black lawyers in the courtroom. Investing time and resources when it's evident that you were treated wrong. Now you walking out of Dallas courtroom with a settlement. Corbin and Corbett, the father-daughter legal tag team that has your back in the courtroom. Our purpose is simple: to obtain a favorable outcome for each client and glorify Christ in all we do. Our vision is to be one of the best and most